Hey, Nick Peterson here. And I'm serious today because I got a whiteboard. We're going to talk about mastering communication and why mastering communication is so important to your overall process or conquest of mastering multiple things. Because here's where your friction is going to come from. It's going to come from your friends, your family, your enemies, your supporters, whoever, not understanding what's going on and causing friction simply because of the lack of communication. One of my favorite quotes of all time is the biggest problem with communication is the illusion that it happened, right? So let's say me and a business partner say, hey, let's do this. Yeah, okay, cool. And we nod our heads and we walk our different directions. If we were talking about two different things, it's not going to be pretty. And that happens all the time. And I'll kind of delve into some really practical stories because the psychology on how to communicate is there's an immense amount of material. But we're not concerned with that. We're concerned about getting shit done, right? That is the whole premise of everything I want to talk about is the practical application to actually move forward in real life. And we're just going to break this down. I'll kind of tell you where things come in and the practical application, right? Because that's what we're here for. Step one, okay? Until you have mastered yourself, you are not going to get very far anywhere, and you're always going to blame everybody else. Here's the thing. You need to control your emotions. It actually drives people nuts that I don't react emotionally, but that's how we get things done. Do I have emotions? Of course. They come along for the ride, but I cannot let them drive the fucking car, right? That is the big key. Don't leave your emotions behind. You have them, you feel them. They may or may not mean something, but we're human. You bring them along with you, but you don't let them drive the car. Emotional decisions are not going to be rooted in fact, and they are not going to be logical, okay? Which defeats the whole purpose of communication, which is get something done, accomplish something. I don't care if you're mending a relationship, ending a relationship, negotiating a buyout, whatever you're doing. If you cannot communicate, it's going to slow you down. And if you are emotional, you will not be able to communicate with tact or empathy because you're going to be worried about you and your feelings. Okay, so emotions out the window here. And I can give you some insight later on how to deal with that. 2, you have to recognize that belief systems exist. You were raised one way, they were raised another. They have this set of experience, you have another. They have been successful in business, you haven't, or vice versa. But these things are shaping belief systems. You don't have to agree, but you do have to recognize that you are not seeing the world the same as they are. And we'll talk about it later, but you are the only one that recognizes this. So you have to be very, very careful to keep in mind that this person is hearing and seeing things differently. Just recognize that it exists. Understand there may be a clash of belief systems. So your job is to tactfully acknowledge and ask good questions to understand how to communicate with this person. Okay, one of my favorite, because we want to meet them where they're at. That's your job. Don't expect them to meet you where you're at. My favorite analogy is two pendulums, right? And this is how we operate, not in sync. If you take the time to recognize their belief system and understand where they're coming from, right, you can kind of start syncing up with them. And now we have harmony and we can get something done. Okay, but one person has to be cognizant of this for it to work. And it's probably not going to be them, so may as well be you. 3, establish that we are here having this conversation either to prove who's right, which never wins, nobody's going to win that one, or to find the truth. My favorite story there's a book called Crucial Conversations, and it's two girls, and they have to go to the bathroom. So they tell their dad, like, I gotta go to the bathroom so bad. So he takes them to the restroom, and there's only one, right? So he says, okay, girls, who's gonna go first? And they swear, each one swears she has to go worse than the other, and they argue for 45 minutes about who gets to pee first. They both could have gone in about 5 minutes, right? So this is a case of find the truth. How do we get to the bathroom efficiently? That's the truth. But the argument quickly became who's right. You have to recognize when an argument swaps to find the truth versus be right, it's got to be over. Nothing's going to happen. You say, hey, or just redirect. Listen, I don't want to be right. I want to find the truth. I don't want to be right about how we handle our daughters sneaking out at night. I want to find the best solution. You have to give up being right, and you have to communicate with the other person or the other parties that it just doesn't matter who's right. Nobody's ever right. Nobody ever wins an argument. Are we here to prove we're right? Because if so, I'm out of this conversation. We'll have it another time. Or are we here to find the truth? And keep redirecting, because it's really easy to start trying to prove your point. We're not trying to prove points. We're trying to find the best solution. And if you're not trying to find the best solution, then you are wasting time in a conversation or an argument. 4, clarify. Remember, we're trying to find the truth, and we recognize that they think differently. So you're going to have to ask a lot of questions. Am I understanding you correctly in that X, Y, and Z? No? Oh, well, can you explain it a different way then? Or, okay, I got it, good. Out of respect to you, I want to make sure I'm hearing the right thing. Right? Don't tell them we don't tell them, hey, you're not making sense. We put it on us. Say, hey, I want to make sure I'm understanding what you're saying. Crystal clear. Takes a few extra seconds for that conversation. Probably going to save you months, maybe years of conversations later on of miscommunication. Just to clarify so I understand, because I want to make sure that I'm not missing the point. Blah, 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 blah. Which leads to, I do not believe when you go into a conversation, it should be 50-50. Because you're probably the only one in control of their emotions. You're probably the only one that, now that you've seen this video, recognize that everybody has different belief systems. It's going to be up to you to establish and keep this on course, or you can get a mediator, right? You need to clarify, because I can't guarantee they will. Which means every conversation, every argument, every confrontation you get into, you take 100% of it. You take the blunt of it. It is your responsibility. Not because you're a pushover, not because I don't want to hear about any of this like principle and blah, 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 blah. If you want to develop skills and learn and become a master and live the good life, you just want to squash all of this friction that comes from disagreement. So put it on yourself. Get this shit over with so you can get on your way and be a productive human being. Hope you guys realize you just got hit with some really powerful and pragmatic stuff. Don't you think? I do. And if you agree, hit the thumbs up button below and like the video. Let me know in the comments what other videos you want to see, what you want me to expand upon, and what questions you have. And remember, all of this stuff is only as powerful as the actions you take in your execution, the practical applications you can derive from it. So let's see how quickly and effectively and efficiently you can master the things to come. You're going to get information here that's going to help you on your journey that you will not find anywhere else. So be sure to subscribe. You don't want to miss one of these videos.